Live. Hey, Kyle, we're back. I'm back. You're back.
Welcome. It's great to see you again. I loved the quote down below for our episode today, which is Ken's back from vacation. We've been pounding 80 to 26. I love it, 26-hour days. We've bent time over the last few weeks. It's been crazy. It's been wild, but here we are. Welcome back to Digitized Live, Season 3, Episode 2. Action-packed format. Kent, how was your vacation?
I don't know if I would call it a vacation. I wanted to call it a vacation, but I did, in fact, take time off from work. I did one thing only in an entire 2 week period. It was work related because I had pre-booked an interview for a digital conference in Brazil where I was telepresent, of course, for over 13,000 people. It was incredible. And I had an amazing experience, and they did a tremendous job using a whole tech stack that I hadn't seen used that way before, so that was super fun too. But yeah, that's the only work thing I did. Other than that, I built a fence in the backyard. It's really cool. Well, I helped build a fence. The fence building guys did most of the work, to be honest. And I did a lot of gardening. You know, gardening is therapeutic, and it's just good to get outside. And but then I also took a bunch of kids back to school, so that part was really stressful, and but it is starting to settle out now. How about you?
Well, welcome to digitizing schools, right? The
Yeah.
digitized teacher. I was having a conversation with a colleague that we talked about one of the big, I think it was one of the big X prizes from from Peter Diamandis's world, where they were a few years ago. They put out a prize about how do they create an avatar that could be anywhere at any time delivering skills. And what we realize is that I think we are the first generation of those avatars. This
Oh,
is us right now. We are those avatars. We are the new hybrid school teachers. Kids are now able to transport themselves all over the place. So again, in real time, perfect segue into our show today is that this
totally.
is unlocking digital potential. This is the digitization of our existence. And so on this show, Digitized Live, Unlock Your Digital Potential, we go super deep on just what's going on, helping to shift that mental model of like what it's going to take to get prepared and get ready for us to lock in and actually unlock that potential for ourselves in the digital realm. So action-packed show today. Going to give a couple quick highlights of what we have seen going on in the world, just like what we've just mentioned, some quick digitized tips and digitized highlights. Ken's got a great one. I got a great one. Then we're doing something that we haven't done before on this level is we are pulling back the curtain on popular demand and by popular request, which is probably hundreds of different requests that we've been getting in on all different levels of like, how does this thing work? What are you doing in the background? Give us the tools, give us the system, give us some clues. Today is the day. We're going to give you some sound bites. Ken is going to be showing you exactly what's going on here, giving you some access to those tools and tips. And then we've got a nice giveaway for you at the end of the show. So let's dive straight into it. Kent, if you're ready, biggest observation, biggest news about sort of digitization just in this last week. What was something that has shown up for you that you'd love to share with our viewers?
So I think one of the most exciting things I've seen, other than a barrage of software upgrades, is something that NVIDIA did. And this is just in the last 24 hours. You can already find probably 100 amazing reviews of all of the new hardware and stuff that's come out by the people who get it pre-release on YouTube. But NVIDIA has released their new NVIDIA RTX 30 architecture, or hardware, I should say, which is a whole new GPU architecture, and it brings to life a number. I mean, it just, I just can't even. It's an order of magnitude almost improvement from where they started when they reintroduced ray tracing, which is real time rendering to the world of computer graphics. The reason this is important here, and the reason it's a kind of a monumental moment, I think, is because they are catering to two audiences with this. Historically, it's been primarily gamers, right? Faster games, faster frames per second, more resolution, better response times. That's all still true, but they've added kind of this segment in of and recognized a new global, mega fast-growing segment called streamers. That's you and me. And it turns out that's about 20 million people in the world are actively streaming now. So this new RTX 30 series of hardware brings a number of capabilities that are just outstanding. So go on YouTube, find NVIDIA's channel, watch the 30 or so minute presentation by the CEO of NVIDIA from his kitchen. Literally, it's great, and then also they talk in that video somewhere toward about 2/3 in about something called NVIDIA Broadcast, which is a suite of tools that they're bringing to market very quickly that do things like software like Ecamm Live or even the software we use, Kyle Wirecast, for individual streamers, kind of really trying to take it to the next level and put all that new hardware to use. So if you have an RTX card, you're going to be able to use things like NVIDIA Broadcast, and it's incredibly competitive out there right now. So, but NVIDIA is well positioned to do good. So that's my biggest observation.
Yeah. So quick question on that one, just before I flip to sharing mine, was that for anybody that is like, maybe all the things you said are just complete Greek, it's like Latin, what? Like if we broke it down, because for our dear tech friends out there that love watching this show and love getting all the scoops on those things, but for those that are already just trying to understand and embrace technology as it is right now, and with just such a significant upgrade, where would we see things like that? For a general person, like where would they start to see improvements in their digital world because of this? Like what kind of things would that be affecting?
Well, while 20 million is a large number, that's actually a very small number of the total number of people that use computers and watch videos on YouTube or Facebook. Where they're going to see it is in their favorite streamers having a series of capabilities that look like the best broadcast TV they've ever seen. And those streamers are going to be able to do that at effectively a lower cost and effort. So the barrier to achieving that level of technical proficiency is falling. So while I may speak Greek sometimes, you're right. Please call me on that. But the idea here is that it's lowering the barrier to entry to more people. So that 20 million is going to be 200 million in just a few years. We're going to see an order of magnitude increase in the ability of people to literally turn their home office into a major, not a little piddly thing, but a world-class broadcast studio.
Amazing. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Like, that's one of the things that I think is most exciting is for those that have just heard what Kent has said here, just imagine the possibilities for you that if you want to start doing similar things to this look and feel, I would imagine, or you want to take your presentation, your brand, the effects that you're using and make your interactions more dynamic, because this is here to stay for a while. We still have to, we got to get past Zoom fatigue. We've got to get past those things and start to say, this is a part of our lives. So how do we make it exciting and enjoyable and interesting and creative? So amazing share, Ken. Thank you. So keep a lookout for those upgrades. For myself, I'm going to go to health and wellness for a second. In a couple of weeks, I'm super excited. We're actually launching a first of its kind biofeedback leadership program that we're testing out. We've been working with a company called Source. It's source.io. And what they're doing is they're digitizing the heart rate variability and the stress and energy inside your body. So your body has signals between your heartbeats that actually sends out signals of how well your body is doing that day. If you need to rest, if you are in a fairly stable maintain, or if it's a good day to push and put yourself into more of your prolific sort of output and work. What they've been able to do is on their dashboards and their tracking system is to be able to digitize that. What we've been figuring out in the work that Kent and I do in helping to motivate, inspire leaders and unlock potential and reduce stress and anxiety in the workforce and increase cultural energy and happiness is we're going to start to play with that, which is how do we use those real-time dashboards and actually coach in real time using that data. And what I'm noticing is there's a massive uptick in digitizing our bodies, and so to digitize the data that our body produces, which you can see in the rings that people wear and the Apple Fitbits and the watches and all this tech that's coming out. But what's interesting is as we're getting more data, medical facilities and practitioners of health and vitality are starting to be able to pull out different metrics. And so that's a big digitization thing I've seen, which has been super exciting. We're going to be experimenting with that. So watch that space. Maybe we can talk about that in one of the shows.
Just a quick reaction, Kyle. If you have been in that space for a long time, you know HRV or heart rate variability is an evolution of monitoring things like your pulse and
That's right.
body temperature and things like that. And it's incredible because it really taps into your core nervous system. And we're only just starting to really understand that data. But this is an extension of something that's been called for a very long time, the quantified self movement. Now, the real quantified self folks do tend to be really intense, and so that's kind of a unique stratospheric area level of digging into to digitizing yourself. But it's amazing, you know, and I've been sort of in and out of that for years myself with various impacts. But if you didn't see the Elon Musk Neuralink announcement,
Big news.
boom! I mean, just like
Cannot wait.
he called it Fitbit for your brain, right?
That's
so
right.
You've got to go. There's a 14-minute compilation of the hour and 20-minute video or whatever it was on YouTube that you can find very easily. Everyone should go watch that. This is literally our world changing right before our eyes, and the responses, as you would expect for something like that, are massively polarizing. Right?
Yeah.
Some people are like, "This is Armageddon." Other people are like, "This is amazing. I'm going to be able to walk again." Right? That kind of thing. So, you know, it's like all exponential technologies like it. It has a sort of a light side and a dark side, but I do believe that the light side tends to win out over time. So I'm really excited about that technology. Don't know if I'm ready to go out and get one in my head yet. Because they've only done it for pigs, but
we'll see what happens to the pigs first. Thank you, pigs.
It should be soon. So Kyle, we'll be able to control all this broadcast with our minds soon enough.
I get to open up my Tesla with my mind. It's awesome. So here's the thing. Just as you said that, what I noticed internally was, as you and I have been on stages over the last few years talking about exponential change, exponential technology, exponential leadership, the rate of disruption, the rate of the exponential curve, right, that we've spoken so much about. All the examples we've been giving over the last couple of years have literally, in the last couple of months, all come to bear. Flying cars, neural net, just all of these things, you know, the quantum computing, the breakthroughs that they're getting, the distance that we can see out into the universe, all these things that they're pushing on have literally just in the last few months hit that where it's like, now it's not like it may happen, what's predicted to happen, it has happened. And now the thing is like, here we are, and our imaginations have to launch further out into the future just to think where we can go from there, even these polarizing viewpoints, right? And the next thing is like, what's going to be the doubling of this? Or what's going to be the quadrupling or the 10xing of this? What's the exponential next step after all of this? This is, I'll tell you, this year and next year just are going to be so insanely fascinating in terms of speed. I cannot wait to see what this show is going to look like in 12 months from now and the topics we're going to be talking about from where we started it earlier this year.
I have no idea. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure we'll break a lot of things along the way, so get ready.
So, speaking of which, let's dive right in. Let's pull back the curtain. You've got some super amazing things to show. So, I'm going to hand over to you, pull back the curtain, start showing everybody what's going on there. You've got this well teed up, and then I'll close out with a nice call to action for everybody.
Okay, and feel free to stop me, Kyle, and if I do get too nerdy or geeky or whatever, stop me and let's bring that back down.
Our fans love it. Our fans love it. Just setting the bar for all the new viewers that are also watching as well. So, but it's but let's go deep. Let's go deep. Let's pull it back.
I'm going to switch us over to demo mode. Demo mode is new for season 3, everybody, and you're going to see us sort of fade away a little bit and you'll have a browser window behind us. So here we go. Without further ado, we are now in demo mode, Kyle. You can see that, and behind me here is the Digitized Live webpage where you can go, and we'll make some references to this toward the end, so you'll know kind of what to do next after you see all this. But my goal today is to sort of pull back the curtain a little bit. I've been asked 1,000 times, maybe more, I don't know. How do you do that? How do you do what you do? Now, answering that is hard. I mean, it's not one thing, it's many things. So that's what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share some of the software and a view even to the live running broadcast studio. So I think of this today kind of as a studio tour. So I'm giving you a Digitized Live virtual studio tour to orient you, I'm sitting in San Rafael, California. Kyle is in another city nearby in Northern California as well, but that's irrelevant. It wouldn't matter to me if he was in India or China or anywhere. It would work just the same. So without further ado, let's get started. So I got to go over here. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is what software do we use to actually go from this studio out to the internet and then eventually to YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and all the places we stream. Well, the software that I use, it's called Wirecast, and in particular I use Wirecast Pro, and I've been using this software for years, quite a few years now. I don't remember the first version. I think it might have been Wirecast 7 or 8. I just installed Wirecast 14 last night. It's an incredible upgrade. Overall performance is just outstanding. I mean, I'm full streaming right now, running at looks like 25% on the CPU, and now I'm going to show you what that looks like. You're going to see kind of a weird infinite regression because I'm showing you what I'm showing you what I'm showing you, and that's why that looks like that up there at the top. But you'll still see Kyle and I overlaid down here. So
these are our parallel universes, Kent.
So, yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, it is. And I was actually doing some research on some of that over my holiday. But I'm going to turn this off for just a second here because I want to get us out of the way. But what you see here on the bottom left is called the shots. And so I know it's a bit small. I'm afraid I can't do much about that in this view. But down at the bottom, you'll see the audio coming in. You'll see the overlays, or the underlays in this case. So the underlay in this case is a screen share from one of my monitors. And then you'll see 4 shots that have Kyle and myself going on. So right now, I can do this. It'll look weird because it's going to go over top of some things. But if I switch to like a 1-up Kent view, then there you go. If I switch to a 1-up Kyle view, there he is, wave Kyle. Yeah, there he is. If I switched back to the 2-up view, it's all going to disappear because I'm going to switch us back to the kind of studio view that Kyle and I use day to day. And then going back again here to the demo mode view. So what you're viewing is what I see on my screen, that then in the left-hand window is what's going to show, and on the right-hand window is what shows. So that's what you see out there in the world. And you notice there's a green button up here called Stream. I don't want to get too close to that lest I accidentally click it because that would end all of this. and we'll go from there. But that's one piece of the software, and I just... There's no way for me to do an in-depth Wirecast kind of review. There's a bazillion YouTube videos, so many things, but I do want to go deeper into this someday. And I think we'll do it, Kyle, in the context of how we actually produce virtual events, and which you and I have been a part of many at this point.
Yeah.
And so we'll go there. So earlier, you might have noticed that we did a countdown timer. So you can see here, this would be me queuing up the countdown timer to go again. So that's Wirecast. Now, the other question you might have in your mind is, well, you said that you're in one place and Kyle's in another. Well, what's going on with that? How do you do that? Well, Wirecast itself comes with a piece of software, and they do say that they've made significant improvements, although I don't use it. It's called Rendezvous. And I do think, Kyle, with this Wirecast 14 upgrade, it's probably time to give it another try. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, what we've done and what works better for large shows. Remember, Kyle, Digitized, myself, Lena, who's not on the show today. We run some really big events with thousands and thousands of people. We have had up to 7,000 or 8,000 people on a given show and hundreds of speakers. You're not really going to do that through Wirecast Rendezvous. So we use a tool called Live to Air, which is from a company called NeuralNet. And what you see here on the screen, this top middle, you see Kyle in his office on his green screen, raw, right? So that's because in LTA, I get his raw camera feeds, and then I feed that, I manipulate that through Wirecast to look like you see in the studio views. And this is him coming in at 960 by 540, 35 frames per second, which is 30.5 or so frames per second, which is great. If I wanted to, I could down res or up res him, but I'm pretty happy with him coming in at that resolution, so I'm not going to mess with it. I can take him on and off air. I control all the audio flows. Setting this up is seriously non-trivial, but causes me. I was up last night fixing a bunch of stuff that broke when I installed the new version of Wirecast, right, so that we could do the show today. So it's not for the faint of heart, but this is the first time I've showed, frankly, almost anybody, the various pieces and components, and I think it's pretty amazing when you look at all this, how it works together. So just back over to Wirecast. What I'll do next is I want to show you kind of what do we do with that. Well, first of all, where do you go to get this stuff? Okay, so if you really want to dig in and you want to play with this yourself, Wirecast isn't cheap. It starts at around $599 for what's called Studio. Pro is a couple $100 more. But we run a professional studio here. This is no joke, right? We need all the best software, all the best hardware. And when it comes to the hardware, you think, gosh, Kent, are you doing this all on your laptop? No way. Not possible, okay? So I actually have one of these bad boys in my studio here. It's right behind my monitor in a stack of servers. This is called a Wirecast Gear. It comes in several versions. I happen to have the Wirecast Gear 420, which is this one right over here. If you think you're going to go out and buy any of these, just ask me for my affiliate code and I'll get some. That would help fund the show a little bit.
Yeah, let's put that in the show notes.
Because we're not sponsored or anything like that. This is just literally the stuff we chose and we use. And so the Wirecast Gear is it's a Windows 10 operating system, the desktop version, on a very, very tricked out server that's optimized for live media streaming, studio camera feeds, and things like that. So this is what we use. And my setup, I don't have a picture of it to show you, doesn't look quite like this. It's quite a bit more complicated. I actually have five monitors, a couple of Stream Decks, a lot of lights all around me. There's a green screen behind me. Because what I've built here in my office is a broadcast studio hybrid that allows me to be a broadcaster, but it also allows me to broadcast large-scale events and manipulate them. And for that, obviously, I need a lot of bandwidth. So I have like one of the best internet connections you can get, and where you live affects things like that. So that's the Telestream Wirecast Gear. Check it out. I mean, it's like any piece of hardware, it has its pros and cons. If you don't want to be a Wirecast person, you can go out and look at the TriCaster stuff. I don't use it, but it's also amazing. But it's also a lot more expensive. So you can pick what works for you. But that's kind of a quick overview, Kyle, of the major pieces that we use. While I'm streaming, I bring Kyle into neural net through LTA. I feed all that and composite it in Wirecast, and then I feed the Wirecast stream out. And again, this little button right here, this little green thingy up here, is when I click that, it sends it to our distribution hub. And from the distribution hub, which is where I do all my checks and things like that before we go live, we send it out to Facebook, we send it to Twitter, we send it to YouTube. Actually, I'm currently streaming to 2 YouTube accounts, a Twitter account, and a Facebook account, and I can keep adding. All right, I don't really have any substantial limit on what I can do there. And we've done a lot of experiments, especially in season 2, with multi-streaming to see what works and how it improves our viewership and commenting and things like that. But if you join this show as a guest, I'll bring you in through neural net into live to air, over to Wirecast to feed you out. And the way that you see Cal and I interact in real time is all done in the neural net studio. If you can't watch live feeds and talk to one another because there's big delays, but it all comes together in the studio and goes out time synced. That's actually one of the hardest parts, is getting all the audio and video to sync up right. But anyway, that's it, Kyle. What kind of questions does that bring to mind, and what do you think?
Yeah, so amazing reveal, amazing equipment. So a couple benefits as to why. One of the first questions is also just to reconfirm for those that are, because there's a couple different levels here, right? If I'm just starting out and I'm looking to make my general productions, let's just say I'm an executive in the workforce and I'm trying to make my team meetings better, and there's a sort of a level of entry of what we would recommend that you get. Then if you're actually hosting and running events, that's another level. And of course, for the level we're talking about here, these are, you wanting to build a business out of this, which is what we've done. You want to build a business out of this. Quality streaming, things not breaking down. That's like the next level. Do you want to just talk very high level to those sort of 3 tiers in some way, Kent, about like what could somebody want to really think about starting out with? What's that sort of next level when you're not necessarily building a business out of it, but you are responsible for larger experiences, and then of course the building the business is a much bigger piece.
First, let's please take note of that, because I want to bring a guest on who's actually gone through a full digitization of his presentation. I mean, you've gone through this transformation, Kyle. You can talk about it, but I think it would be better if we bring on one of the guests that we can pull in from the hundreds of speakers we worked with. But the thing is that you do not need all that stuff I just showed you if what you want is to just do live streams to things like YouTube and Facebook of high quality. That is not the starting point, and nor was that geared that way. This is more, like you said, if you want to build a business out of it. So to answer the question, if I was just getting started, I would keep it much simpler than that. You remember that kit we have over on Kit Code called Digitized, just the basics? That's what I send people when they're first getting started, and I tell them to try to pick up as much of that gear or something just like it as they can afford, and then get started streaming with a much easier to use set of tools like StreamYard, or even Restream.io now has a live studio function, which is fantastic. And as I said, many other players are coming online for this. So those would be my first 2 recommendations, just to get into the streaming game without having a huge learning curve. Then, if you're going to get more serious about this, then you do need to start learning how to use some of the software that I've showed you, because it's going to allow you to do neat things like setting up these multi-shots, complex shots, doing live demos, recording them at extremely high resolution locally, and then broadcasting at a stream rate like we are right now, which is 1440p today. You do need to step it up a little bit, and you can do that though even without getting into the live broadcast software that's really complex, or more complex I should say. Be using a tool like Ecamm Live if you're a Mac user, or OBS Studio if you're a Windows user, although OBS does work on a Mac too. I don't recommend it. I usually recommend Ecamm Live for those folks who really just want to up their game. Then the next level after that is something like getting more into Wirecast, which is what most of the people I know who start to get more serious about it end up with, running on their Mac or their Windows PC. It doesn't matter. The studio runs on Windows in my case. My personal studio and broadcast capabilities all run off a Mac, which is my personal preference. But after that, like the stuff that we do from an events management perspective, that's a whole different world, because I mean the amount of time and effort and money and setup that goes into creating something like what I'm sitting in front of right now is very substantial, right? This is not something you just do and spend a few $100. It's tens of thousands of dollars to get to that level, and that's why people rent it from us as opposed to building it, buying it, and operating it themselves. So you have to decide what business you're in, and then play to your strengths.
Awesome. So one of the things that I would say about just as before we wrap up here is that I'd probably be a good example just from between a tier 1 and a tier 2 sort of a thing, is what Kent has, as we've gone through all of this, to be able to also be broadcast in and to have a significantly good setup, but then also just to take my in-person events to sort of a digital environment, and just to be able to step the game up and really have some level of presentation skills. Simple setup is I do run still most of the things through the laptop, but have a larger screen for very cost-effective lights that are on the kit that Kent recommended, that'll be in the show notes. The Blue Yeti microphone, a Logitech Brio camera, which are all on the kit, really the simple basics. And it's actually very powerful what you can do. And Kent's really helped me understand Wirecast. And so when we're able to do that, what we can do now is configure across. So we're very excited to see where Wirecast goes to next, and then also to like where NVIDIA is going, what Kent's been talking about, where it's going to go next. Because I would imagine this show is going to completely explode and upgrade. The events that we produce are going to upgrade. The one-on-one coachings or the group sessions that we run are going to all upgrade. And just the experience is going to be so good as the quality improves, It's got, all of the sort of the fractalization and digitization will go and it'll just look more and more and more real. Like practically you can see in Ken's face, you could probably reach out and give the guy a hug. It looks so crystal clear and real.
Yeah.
So
you were funny earlier, Kyle. You're like, I don't know about this 1440p thing. You can see all the lines and the circles.
We're gonna have a special like cucumber filter. We're gonna call it a cucumber filter, which purifies and moisturizes your skin digitally, which is awesome. So with that, we're wrapping up today's show, but we wanted to leave you with something important. We always want to take away an action now. In season 2, we're going to give you an action every time. So for the next episode, we're talking about how we digitize events. We probably have a guest come in either the next session or the session after. So it's really exciting who's going to come on to talk about these things. And where we're going to drop into live examples so you can understand real practical tools and techniques, because now is the time. Technology is moving. It's becoming more affordable, more accessible, easier and more intuitive to learn. We're going through the real hard stuff. Ken's really putting himself out in the front line to kind of be in all the messiness. And as there's more people leading out of the digitized charge, you'll start to see that the progression to make it more accessible and more efficient for everybody else starts to increase. So for all of you out there, keep experimenting, keep trying. I know it can be a little frustrating at times, but when you get that breakthrough, when you start to activate that potential, it will take your business, your life, and everything else to the next level. So with that, we've got a giveaway. So what we have is, are you ready to get digitized? If you go to digitized.live, our main homepage, what we have over there is a form for you to fill in, because there's a gift for you, which is a way for you to digitize your own business. There's a template, or what we like to call a canvas, that you can walk through. You can see over here, it's behind Kent right now, the digitized roadmap. It takes you through some simple questions. You click that link, it'll take you to our YouTube channel, which is what you're watching right now. And on there's a video where we explain exactly the basic steps to go through there. Now, here's the thing. There's a form related there as well. So go through those things. As you see the form, the very first person to submit and fill in and submit around where you're ready to get digitized, you will get an hour of free consulting from myself and Kent. So for those of you that are watching and checking this out, fill that form in, play with this roadmap. It is very powerful. It's really going to help you get advanced. It's getting you thinking differently about things. You've got a ton of resources from season 1 and 2 and the beginning of season 3 that are available to you, where we go into every dimension of life that you can think about with tools and methodologies and tips. But if you want to get some more practical tips like you've just experienced here, and to really pull the curtain back and get some one-on-one, be that first person to submit that form, and we'll be very excited to meet you and to speak with you. So with that, Ken, awesome show, great insights, amazing to pull back the curtain. It always gets me so fired and excited, just what we've been able to accomplish in this last year. So any last thoughts before we wrap up season 3, episode 2 for today?
No, I'm just looking forward to the rest of the season. I know we have some amazing guests. I know we're going to be showing some deeper dives into other tools outside the broadcast studio that can help people change their entire workflow in ways that we've done, and we really just want to share that and really help people, digitize. Like we say, that's why we're here. Absolutely. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Stay safe out there, and remember, every single one of us has a digital version of ourselves inside. So let's keep unlocking that digital potential and elevate together. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye, everybody.